I'm Harvey Hubbell, and this is Show and Tell with Harvey Hubbell. Am I right? Is that the name of the show? And this is, and we're live here in the same room with you two guys, Jen and Wendy. Who are you, and what do you do?
Well, I'm Wendy Darris, and I work side by side with Jen Yagid. And the short story is that we have established a company called Informed Literacy, and it's basically designed to get materials and resources in the hands of teachers and parents that align with the science of reading to help students read, because our mission is every child deserves reading success.
And so you're one of them, their influencers, or you're two of them, their influencers.
Try.
Jen's the influencer on Instagram.
So
absolutely.
So
and we've been around for a while. So even before the coined the term science of reading, we've been in the trenches. Started out on Twitter, and then we kind of left Twitter. It was a little harsh, but we have been just working hard to try to get the message out.
well, let's talk about that. We always love doing the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd you become teachers? How'd you meet?
Well, I became a teacher. I started teaching third grade, and I ended up switching districts and moving to first grade, and super nervous about it because I was going kind of from in schooling. It was like fifth grade. I was in a classroom, then went to third grade, and then I got a job teaching first grade, which is terrifying because it's such a pivotal year. Like, you would think the older grades are harder, but really the younger grades have the most impact. You're literally teaching them to read, and I didn't know a whole lot about it at that time. I came from balanced literacy. All of my college was all balanced literacy teaching, so I wasn't aware of a phonics-based approach to teaching reading. And then I loved teaching reading, but knew that there was something missing, and then went to college to get my degree as a reading specialist, still in balanced literacy. Most of the lessons we learned and all the courses were based in balanced literacy.
That's all there was. So I mean, everybody came from balanced literacy.
Most people. I mean, I think that there's some people that, because like way back, because it's, like they always talk about the pendulum shift
Well,
that
it's
it
the
used to
pendulum,
be.
it's the pendulum. Okay, everybody except for Louisa Moats.
Yeah.
Right,
Who just
Yeah.
went.
Yeah.
Right, but
Yep.
So okay, so I stand corrected. A small majority of people have gotten it by the science of reading, but now it's blowing up. So you can't be hard on yourself by saying, "Hey, we used to do science of literacy," because
that's
that
our
makes
whole
you a
message.
scientist.
Yep.
That makes you not a scientist, but it makes you figure out,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, this didn't work. This does work," right?
Absolutely. Well, so then I got a job, and Wendy and I actually shared a reading room together, which I miss. And we kind of, both of us coming from similar backgrounds and kind of just thinking like, wait a second, this isn't working. This, guessing words and looking at pictures, like, this is not working. And it's different when you're in the classroom and you have a whole group of kids. You have 22 kids, because there are certain kids that are just going to learn to read no matter what. And then our caseload was struggling readers. So that it became imminently clear that it was not going to work.
So to piggyback on what Jen has said, that I started back in the day with whole language. So I always wanted to be a teacher. I actually came up through the ranks of Dick and Jane. That's how I learned to read, but I was one of those kids that was lucky enough to just be able to read. I basically taught myself. So as I went through college, I too was taught actually the whole language approach. And then when I began teaching, we swung from whole language to balanced literacy, and I thought this was it. Like, this made so much more sense than whole language, but it still wasn't enough. And I was lucky enough to meet a group of first grade teachers, and together we were saying, we're looking at our data and going, our kids, they're kind of flatlining. What is going on? Like, so that's when I started, actually met Margie Gillis, and she came to our school system and trained kindergarten, first grade teachers in the science of reading and the syllable types. And as I was learning this, I was so excited about it. I was talking about it at the dinner table with my son, who at that point was in high school, and he's like, wait, there's syllable types? What? there's patterns to words. Like, and he was one of those kids that Jen had mentioned that read in spite of our instruction. He just taught himself to read. So even a great reader didn't have the background information of syllable types and how that can help you read multisyllabic words. So then after I got that jazzed about that, I decided I was going to get my reading degree. And then I got into the reading position and was on the hiring committee for Jen and was like, yes, we're grabbing her because she's amazing. And then together, as we were working with these kids, we were like, wait a minute. You know, we did have the phonics. We had pieces of structured literacy, pieces of the science of reading, but we had only the phonics portion of it. And there was nothing connecting the phonics to the reading. And if with young readers and struggling readers, if you teach in isolation, you only teach phonics, they don't necessarily make that quantum leap to, oh, I can use this when I'm reading a book. Oh, no. So that's how Jen and I were like, we begged for decodable books. We were not given decodable books, so we just started creating our own materials and writing our own materials and helped kids connect phonics to reading. And that's how we got started.
Yeah, I want to find out about your materials, but you know, I know that everybody's going to say you guys are like Thelma and Louise or Ethel and Lucy and stuff like that. But I see you guys more as like a 1970s cop show. You know, this unstoppable.
Yeah, that's way cool. That's way cool.
Yeah, you know, just these guys. You know, you have a cool car. You teach people to read. You know, you don't. You're always bucking the system. You know, so
we try.
Oh yeah, bucking the system.
So about this content. So tell me some of your favorite content that you guys created, and how do you create content? Do you call her up in the middle of the night? Do you write things down? How do you do this stuff?
So the funny story is we have our AM chats. So I am still working, so I have a 45-minute commute to work, and so on several days a week we chat in the car. And I was like, it's so nice coming up here with her, not having to be her on speaker. She was actually sitting beside me, but we'll basically chit chat and just brainstorm, and we just always have ideas. Like, we are never short of ideas. I feel like we've got 1,000 things that we want to accomplish, and this is just our way of starting it and getting it out there.
So you're in the trenches still, so you're getting inspired when you're getting
Absolutely.
inspired by the kids.
Absolutely. I mean, like we're evolving into the science of reading. The state of Connecticut is at a point where they have to go into the science of reading. So that's exciting to see certain practices like the multi-cueing system out. So kids are not encouraged to guess. I mean, I never thought I would hear it. It was just, it's just so, we've been doing this since 2015-ish. Yeah. So, to hear that has been really amazing.
So going back to your content, what kind of things, how do you make your content, and what do you do? How do you do it?
Well, I think one of the things that we're most proud of is our decodable books, and just being able, it's just so gratifying. Like Wendy was saying, like we were designing our own resources, and to actually have the opportunity to give them to kids and see them reading, and just seeing. I always say my most favorite job. I teach kindergarten through 6th graders, and my most favorite part of my job is when a kindergartner has tapped out a word and can read the word, and it's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, I've done this, and it's even more gratifying when it's your own resources, and that they want to be like, can we take these home? Yeah. And it's just so exciting. So
your audience is educators, but is there homeschooling parents involved?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely be. Our materials are designed. Our materials are designed to support people who are novice to the science of reading, or people who know what they're doing in the science of reading. Like we have, we try to keep lesson plans available so that they can, so anyone could follow it if they needed to. It's got as much support as you need. Do I follow the lesson plans? At this point, no, I don't need to at this point because we wrote them, and I've done it enough times. But we want to have that support, because I know as a when I'm learning something, I want to see what it's supposed to look like from the creator, and not just, hey, here's a book, teach your kids. And so I think that we really try to get into the teacher's mind, like a novice teacher's mind, to lay out our materials so that pretty much anyone could deliver it.
And do you take does your school system allow you to take your own decodable books to your kids? So you're watching
They're
it with them.
supportive. They're definitely supportive of it, which
That's
is great.
incredible. That's great.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that.
Being in the classroom, that's my one fear. You know, if I were to ever leave the classroom, I don't want to leave completely, because I'd be scared that I didn't have the inspiration of kids. But I mean, Wendy has retired and she still does. You can share what you.
I'm a private Wilson tutor now, and I'm working with informed literacy. And to circle back to the creative process of, so the morning drives, we're talking about, okay, what do we need, you know? And so the way that the decodables started was, again, we didn't have resources to tie phonics to books. So we started to, I pretty much do most of the writing, and Jen helps me edit it afterwards. So the way that my creative process works is I'm like, okay, what phonics feature do I want to work on? Then I brainstorm a list of words that have that phonics feature, and then I write the stories, and then Jen and I edit the stories, and it's been really successful. I think kids really respond to our stories. What makes it different? Jen was just sharing what one of her colleagues said. What makes our books different is that they actually have a storyline.
Yes.
And it's not just the bug sat, the cat sat. It's actually kids are reading books and there's a story to it. And to circle back to what one of my students, when I was in the classroom, she was severely dyslexic, and we wrote this little book called Tom and Dot, and it's just about two characters who are jogging, and they jog on a log, and it was focusing on the short O because she was having trouble with, you know, just CVC words, little words. And she turned the page and there was a picture of a box, and she goes, "Don't tell me they're gonna jog in a box." And she's just cracking up, and like, that's what they do. When they can read, kids love to read when they can read.
Yes.
And we want to open that door for kids to get them to love reading.
That's great. And then, well, you guys know you changed lives. And these kids are going home. Well, take the dyslexic girl who, if she didn't run into you guys in the early intervention,
Right.
you know, she would have been a grade level behind, self-esteem would have been a problem, who knows where that would have went. But now she probably is telling people, you know, she's showing off to everybody in her family, grandma and grandpa,
Right.
Oh,
Right.
you know, jogging on a log.
That's why they want to bring the books home,
Yes.
right? 'Cause
Right.
they,
Then so that's the thing. So okay, so you guys are entrepreneurs. You guys are educational entrepreneurs. You guys, you know, figure it out. You have your AM time talking.
Yep.
She's
And we work
working,
on
she's-
weekends, too.
She's editing. Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Weekends,
I
too.
think back what I said about you guys about like the '70s cop show. I think it's more like, you know, like The Godfather. You know, they want me out and
Oh,
they want
man.
me back in. nobody retires from reading
It's
stuff.
true.
They just,
Oh, no.
they're like
It's
a
true.
fine bottle of wine. They get
Yeah.
better with age
Oh,
and
yeah.
knowing these things, you know, because they're looking at all this stuff. Okay, so in the future, so now you guys got this thing. I mean, I know that when you were in college, you said, you know what I want to be when I retire? I'm going to be a internet influencer. That's what I'd like to do.
We're both super introverts, so this is kind of a weird thing. Like they say that people who are, you know, on camera, it's super introvert. So it's tough for both of us. We're very similar. I think that's why we get along so well.
Well, maybe when you guys become successful, you can hire people to pretend they're you
Oh gosh, that would be great.
and do like
Body doubles.
talk shows and stuff like that. You know, I don't know. So what's going to happen in the future? You guys have a magic wand. I mean, you know, you guys are in Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut. So you're doing a lot of work around here. You know what the state laws are. You know what's happening. What's going to happen in the future? Let's say next year or 2 years from now.
Well, our really exciting venture that we're going to that we're attempting to get into progress is we're trying to get the decodable texts that we sell online in our shop published. We want to get them published in kids' hands with like actual books. Like, you know, they're printables, which is really, really convenient for people. And but we're working to. It's a big deal. We're getting to you know, talking about how we're going to get that big venture underway.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming, but exciting because I think that's
just
kind of where
dipping our
everyone's
toes
looking.
in.
Yeah, because at this point now, everyone is looking for decodable texts, and we've had these. We've been writing them since 2015.
Right.
So we know they work. We're excited about them. We believe in them. I think Wendy had said about the decodable books get a bad rap because they are, the cat napped. The cat did nap. And it's just kind of this like boring, nonsensical conglomeration of words that the kids can read, and they're practicing reading and decoding, but that's not the only thing that reading is. So we want to make sure that we include words in our books that we can have, like we talk about multiple meaning words, like a word like deck, pretty simple word, right? And the kids might say, oh, there's a deck is a porch on the back of your house. Well, what else is a deck? And and talking about making that connection, I literally have to teach kids okay, words have multiple meanings. And so you need to know that sometimes you're going to read something and you're going to be like, wait a second, that doesn't go with what I know what a deck is. So it could be a deck of cards. It could be a deck. One of my kids said a deck like punching someone in the face. I mean, it's kind of cool to get them thinking about that, but you have to get them to make that quantum leap because they definitely don't do it themselves. So.
Right. Well, by teaching reading, you're laying pipe down here. You're laying new wires, going over new pieces of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
The kid who's gonna deck somebody. Maybe
I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah.
But the deck of cards.
Yeah.
The deck. That's interesting stuff. Okay, let's take a break, and then let's come back and talk more about this at the next episode.
All right. Sounds good.
Good.